we've seen whiting and we've seen some pompano down here in Crescent Beach this week. Any sightings of a mullet in Stillwater, Oklahoma, Chase Goodbread, while you were out there?
A couple, yeah, a couple. No doubt about it. It's I've never been there before. Matter of fact, I don't think I'd ever been in the state of Oklahoma before. But it was a heck of a campus at Oklahoma State. It's pretty self-contained, like you might expect. Kind of, a little bit isolated, of course, but a lot of money goes. That Boone Pickens dollar definitely has things as modern as they can be over there from a facility standpoint.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys have Jera Jones, and the Oklahoma State Cowboys have T-Boone, right?
That's right.
That's pretty much the way it works. Now, did you encounter Mike Gundy at any point during your time out there?
I did. Got a chance to sit down with him for a few minutes. He's about like you'd expect,
Is the mullet as glorious and mesmerizing in person as it is on the cable or on social media?
At least not right. I mean, you catch. Who knows if you ever catch somebody, right after a haircut or if they need one. I'm sure that can change on a dime. But it was. I'd call it. Not even sure it was there. Not even sure it was noticeable.
Really?
It was.
It wasn't even majestic. Yeah.
No.
Goodbread, I would have sent you out there for 2,000 words just on Gundy's mullet, let alone something else. Why did you even go, Goodbread? If we're not getting anything on Gundy's mullet, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Well.
But you know what? You know what we do have coming up, and you've been down there. I want to get your thoughts on this because you paid a visit down to the Manning Passing Academy back in 2014. A big event even back then. Talk about the guys that you saw 5 years ago and maybe how this event has continued to evolve as a major mile marker on the college football offseason sort of landscape.
Yeah, I went down there in 2014 for a couple of days and kind of soaked the whole thing in. It was a pretty big year for quarterbacks. Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota were down there. Dak Prescott was down there. Coach Sean Mannion, who, of course, threw for a ton of yards at Oregon State and some other notables. Although it's you keep in mind, too, when you talk about, like, MPA classes, that that's not really what it is, because a lot of these guys are going more than once. And so it's not like you just kind of pass through one particular year and then that year's class is, compared to the next one, because there's a lot of overlap with these guys that go more than 1 year. But it definitely attracts, for the most part, as big a name as you want from year to year at that quarterback position. And they act as camp counselors and work with kids, and it's a big event, and it's growing too.
I guess you were there the year after Johnny Football ran roughshod through Thibodaux, Louisiana. Yeah. Infamous, I guess, appearance at MPA. And I say that because, we'll talk about the roster, but more so maybe a couple of guys that aren't down there. Not that this is a be-all, end-all of the great quarterbacks in college football today, but it's an elite group. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But no Kellen Mond from Texas A&M, Chase. You surprised to see him? Who knows the reasons for it? Maybe he had a conflict. Who knows? But he's one of the guys from the SEC that isn't making the trip. And Felipe Franks also, the University of Florida, not on this list.
Yeah, there's definitely things that kind of gum up the schedule. I think it's fairly common, fairly regular for there to be 2 or 3 guys who you would expect to be there, not be there. And I'm sure anything from family vacations to pulled hamstrings can have a role in that. So, it doesn't surprise me at all, really, that Mond or, a few other guys aren't going to happen to make it. I don't think they quite get 100% of the top guys that they want, but it's pretty close. It's probably in the 90s.
What's the format? Because I think those of us that haven't been down there, or some of us that haven't been down there, envision just this kind of, boot camp of quarterback play. But for these college guys, how much on the field work are they going to get here in the next 3 or 4 days?
I think a lot of the value in it for the college quarterbacks is in the classroom, because I think the Mannings have a pretty direct role in getting on the grease board, I guess, with some of these guys, and not only that, but providing them some guidance in general about to play as well as they can and handle themselves as well as they can, both in college and the NFL. On the field, it's at Nicholls State, and Nicholls State has got this vast expanse of fields. It's really quite remarkable. You wouldn't think that any school would have this much acreage to work with, but there's a ton of it, and they've got hundreds upon hundreds of kids. They don't do it they don't do the whole thing in the football stadium. There's not nearly enough room. There's too many kids, and there's too much space needed to throw deep balls, in a smaller group. And they're different ages, of course, and you need a smaller field maybe for the younger guys, but it's just field after field after field of smaller groups of campers, maybe 10 to 25, working with one college quarterback. And then, of course, on the back end of it, the college quarterbacks will go into the stadium, I think, on one particular day and have a skills competition with each other, with the campers. They're either not around or they might be in the stands, one or the other. But that's kind of how they structure it.
Yeah, and the college quarterbacks, I guess there's 30, 40 college quarterbacks that are down there. They're more counselors, I guess, as much as anything else. Again, the perception being that perhaps it's all about getting the college guys work, when in reality, there's far more kids involved, right, than the college guys.
No, that's for sure. I mean, they're down there to be a counselor for a group of young quarterbacks who are trying to learn the game, and so. You wouldn't need that much space if it was a camp for guards and centers. But when it's a quarterback camp and there needs to be enough room for everybody to let it fly, and you're breaking it up, one college quarterback with 10, 20, 30 kids, it takes some square footage to do it. But they got the space for it down there, and they organize it. There's golf carts going all over the place, with ice because it's hot as blazes, and with equipment, and somebody twists an ankle, there's a golf cart right there to get them out of there and get them the medical attention they need. It's a well-run deal.
So you're going to have Tua Tagovailoa, these guys at least scheduled to attend, Trevor Lawrence of Clemson, Jake Fromm of the University of Georgia, Justin Herbert of Oregon. In the opinion of Chase Goodbread, who's the biggest dog at the MPA, other than, of course, Peyton or Eli? But of the college quarterbacks, who's QB1 at MPA going into this weekend?
I think you got to give it to Lawrence, because he's the one wearing the crown, right? I mean, isn't it the guy that walks in with the crown?
Yeah. And played extremely well in the process of obtaining said crown. Yeah.
So no one's name's going to pop more than his, and obviously Tua Tagovailoa's got more of a longer resume in college football than Lawrence does, and so he's right there too. Plus, of course, he was hyped from the beginning, and he's lived up to the hype. So Tua's right there too. Fromm. You put in Herbert from Oregon. A lot of NFL scouts like what they see in that guy, tools-wise. Toolsy. They like that toolsy word, Travis. So there you go.
There you go. A little scout dialect there to cap it with Chase Goodbread on a Thursday. Well, Chase, glad you made it back from Stillwater in one piece, and always enjoy you here on the program. Look forward to Crimson Cover Television on WVUA Channel 23, and we'll be cranking up that Talkin' Tide podcast coming up in the not-too-distant future as well. Thanks a lot, Chase.
Sounds good, man.